Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spirit Bubble. I'm Kara.
I'm Alma.
Thank you so much for following us this far. For those of you who have been caught up and staying updated, I know this is a very different project that we've been doing.
Yes, it is. But
It
such a fun project to be diving into, right?
it is because I never really expected that I was going to be doing something like that, but it's good, with a good friend and someone you can vibe with, and I'm just hoping that you're finding yourself being able to vibe with that too.
Yes, join in on the positive harmony.
Yeah, definitely. So today we were gonna try to touch up on a little bit of living on the now instead of staying stuck in the before.
Right, right.
And yeah, this right here is kind of a little bit more of an intermediate topic because it's a very challenging state of mind to get into.
Right. It really is because it involves your idea of the past and everything that shaped you and coming to peace with it, which is
Right.
isn't like just flipping a switch and getting there. Yeah,
Right.
it takes some time. So definitely an intermediate concept to discuss.
It is. Because you go through your life and you grow up living with certain ways and certain concepts and certain ideals of life and guidelines to life that it can be very hard to let go of because that's what you've been taught as normal, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Um, I,
Definitely.
I guess in a sense too, the old ideas that you have been raised with is kind of a normal, even though there's not really such thing as a normal, but like to you, it's a normal. To
Hmm.
your family, it's a normal. So to break that chain of normal is definitely it's a very personal growth issue to really experience.
For sure. It's something that comes in its own time when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And so for each of us, that's going to be different how it's going to manifest. But in time with practice, you can come to a place where you're ready to move past the past that's
Yeah.
holding you back and step into the now where you get to live free and happy.
Yeah. So, like, how would you personally define what living in the now is? Just to try to kind of get an explanation of exactly what we're talking about. Because I know we're kind of taking a step up and a little bit of the understanding here. So, like, what would you describe would be living in the now?
For me, living in the now is just being present and engaged with what's going on in this moment, not worrying about fears and doubts that are stemming from the past or worries that might be about the future. It's letting go of those ideas and just being in the moment for what it is and like using the moment to enjoy itself, to really be you, almost like a witness of the moment. You're not judging it good or bad, but living in the present is merely being there, seeing it for what it is, and then reacting as you feel appropriate.
As you are today, reacting as you are today, not
Hmm.
trying to be who you were before. Because I could say, oh, well, this is how I make a peanut butter sandwich, and so therefore this is always how it's supposed to be made. But like, what about now? What have you learned now in your life? How do you like your peanut butter sandwich now?
Right? Maybe you like to spread it a different way, or maybe you like
Yeah,
it crunchy now. It's things change and you
yeah,
change. So living in the now is being, I think, more fluid with the moment
yeah,
where you can allow yourself to shift as you need to be
yeah.
rather than conditioning yourself to be just one way.
I would also probably say too that it's learning in terms of living in who you are now, in the situation that you're in now. It's also learning a love and acceptance for it, you know?
Yep, that basic concept comes back for us again. Because
Exactly.
right? It lays the foundation of how you can move forward. And so here we are at an intermediate concept, and we're coming back to say, hey, here's love and acceptance. You still need it.
It
It's still what's
always
going to help you.
it always comes to that. Yeah. But
It
they,
does.
yeah, to me, the most basic idea of living in the now is learning to love the now. You know, um, right now you might be really busy in life, or you might not be doing anything in life, and instead of looking back and saying, oh, I wish that I had the time that I used to, or oh, I wish I had more time, more things to occupy my time. Why not find the love in your heart to cherish what you have going on in this very moment? Like right now, you and I are talking, right? So that's what I should be more focused on, you know? Talking with you, doing this recording, spreading the message, not thinking about how my workday went or thinking about what my words may have done or how I could have spoken better or how I should what is my next step. It's because it's this very split second right now that we're sharing instantly.
Right. Right. And being present in that is letting go of all that stuff that's
Yeah.
not in the moment, right? It's not saying that it doesn't matter or that it's not important, but right now, what is important is what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
so letting those fears, doubts, worries, anxieties, letting those kind of fade to the background and coming forward in the moment to be
Yeah.
where you need to be rather than up in your head, not living the moment fully.
Yeah. And if any of you guys are the kind of individuals who suffer from any kind of anxiety, well, let me tell you, trust me, I understand you because, like, I have had social anxiety for a long time. Now, albeit it had to build up slowly until a point where there was no choice but to turn around and do something about it. But when I was in that moment of my anxious days, I thought about, oh my gosh, I didn't say this very well. I could have given a better um, greeting. Oh, what was my expression? Oh my goodness, what do I need to do in order to make this person happy? What I was so drowned in thinking about how what I had done previously may have affected people that it was the idea of living in the now was nowhere in my mind.
Right? Well, I mean, it makes sense because when you're not living in the now, you're kind of drowning in details that aren't the now moment. So, like, it gives you something to focus on that takes your attention away from being present and engaged and occupies your time and energy in a different direction. So, it's a lot of mental exertion, which
Mhm.
can lead to physical symptoms of that anxiety and worry. Right?
Yeah.
So again, the spiritual and the physical need to balance themselves out. And that now moment, for me, it's all that is real. You mentioned appreciating what you have is a good way to be in the present moment. Well,
Yeah.
that's because the present moment is made up of everything that's tangibly going on right now. The past has disappeared. So that's all mental weight that you choose to carry. The future has yet to descend. So anything you're worrying about the future, that's yet to manifest. So if you're focused on the past or the future, it leads you to be distracted from the tangible reality that's before you. And
Yeah.
that can be a stressful way to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was in those days living in that mindset, I remember, one of my guides really stepping forward because this was a huge stepping stone for me to have to learn. And one of them had really come forward super active in helping me to face my reactions of what was happening around me in that time. And I was told, okay, so what's going on right now? And I'm like, well, I'm at work. I'm helping a customer. Okay, so why are you worried about what this person said 20 minutes ago? Shouldn't you be focusing on your customer? And so, like, slowly introducing that idea started to make me carry less and less of that weight that you mentioned.
Mhm. For sure. For sure. I understand that completely. It came in time to be able to let go of that weight.
Hmm.
Like it was a practice to repeat and to learn to do over and over and
Yeah.
let go of that bad habit of focusing on the past or worrying about the future.
Right. And then also, in the same token, talking about the future, I would also worry, like, I would be right there at work that day in that moment, right? Knowing what I need to be, knowing what I needed to be taken care of right then. Ooh, did I freeze? Ooh, oh well. But I would be so worried about, okay, well, what if I make this decision? How is this person going to respond? And it's like, okay, but we haven't crossed that bridge now. Why are you worried about crossing this bridge you haven't even reached? You know?
Yep, that's a good lesson. That's a powerful thing to know on how to live to the moment. Don't worry about future problems before your future self gets to them because you're not the person that needs to handle those problems yet. If thinking about the future and all the things that could manifest there worries you, that means this now you, this person that's here right now, isn't ready to face that moment yet. So
Exactly.
let it go and get in the moment that you're in and learn
Right.
how to be your best self inside of that. So then, as time rolls forward and the future unfolds, you're still in the habit of being your best self to meet
Hmm.
whatever problems or gifts come your way.
And really, speaking of like being that best self, when you do figure out how to be in that present like that, being your best self is actually going to create your best future.
I agree. That's kind of like the law of attraction principle. The energy that you sow into your present moment goes into the universe to attract the very equal energy that you're going
Yeah.
to experience. So, for a person that's lost and drowning in their negative thought spirals, it's very likely that they're going to experience negative aspects of reality because all their time and energy is focused on the negative side of things. So then when things manifest, that's all they notice.
Hmm.
But on the flip side, the same is true. If you focus on the good, not ignoring that bad exists or saying
Right,
that it
right,
doesn't exist,
right.
just appreciating the good that is there as equally as the bad and focusing on that, then you, in your future moments, you're focusing on that as well, which is giving you more of the same. And so it's a self fulfilling cycle that what you believe influences what you experience.
Right, and it's so funny that these concepts they interact with each other too. My cat is making a bunch of noise.
Yeah, he's playing over in the window.
He was. Oh dear. Yeah, yeah, that's him. He's kind of active right now and energetic. So.
Our kittens got started getting really rambunctious, and my husband was like, I think we should put them in the room so you can get your recording done.
Right. But I guess it kind of makes an interesting moment.
Oh, yes, for sure. The present moment, it gave us, we didn't skip over the laugh that was the cat getting in the moment. We enjoyed it, we cherished it, and we experienced it together because that's what our present moment was.
We gotta laugh because we were actually paying attention.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The cat made me lose my train of thought too.
Oh, mine too. I'm not sure where we were at, but that's okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all right.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. Um, but yeah, oh yeah, I was saying that it's funny how all these concepts that we're talking about tend to intertwine with each other.
Mhm,
Um, it's just having, because it's all part of the big picture, we're so busy trying to see that big picture rather than this little puzzle piece that we're working on, putting into it. And
mhm.
that big picture can be really overwhelming.
For sure, it can. It and, I think for a lot of people, it really is, because when you look out into the world to see the big picture, it's it's outside your ability to influence all of it totally,
Oh yeah.
because you are just one person. And so to think of the grand reality of existence and then from your individual perspective, it's just so much to take on. So
Right.
that's why the now moment is such a great moment, because it's a gift of all that is, and it's enough that you can focus on it right now. It's not too overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
not too much. It's exactly what you need to feel good and happy in the moment. So if you can lean into letting go of those other things that have happened to you, that are happening to you, that could happen to you, any of those, let them go, and then center and ground yourself in the now moment and experience it. Laugh joyfully, cry if you need to, whatever it calls for.
Yeah, and that can just really be able to help you bring your best energy out.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I had someone that asked me about their energy when they were giving it to others, and how they felt like a fake, like they had to get up the air and put on a show to help others.
Really?
Yeah, and
Oh.
I was like,
Oh.
"Oh, well, that's not good feels helping. That's where you're taking from yourself to give to somebody else." And there's usually always a little bit of resentment when that happens. So, like,
Yeah.
I pulled him back and I was like, what you need to focus on is loving yourself wholesomely, so that you can give that love out to others and influence the moment as you best want to influence it. Because if you're giving out yourself to others and hating it every step of the way, think of
Oh.
that energy that's building inside of you. It's a negative kind of swirl, and it's not anything good to experience. So then in the future moments you're going to have negativity to endure as well.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna be
it,
facing that energy coming back to you, Like
mhm,
that person that maybe they were putting a facade for may come back and be like, hey, I don't feel like you were being genuine with me. And then now you've lost some credibility because you weren't being who you are,
mhm.
you know?
Yep. That's exactly it. It's being who you are. If if who you are hurts to be, then you're not in a place to be somebody for others, because you're hurting, and that hurt will follow you. So it's we talked about it in another episode, that self-love, that acceptance. You got to heal yourself so you can give to others.
Right.
And that's a lot of what being in the present moment
Yeah.
is. It's healing yourself of all that doubt, weight, fear, and negativity, and
Yeah.
learning to just float in the center moment that is right now.
If that's what you need in that moment is to stop and take time for yourself, then that is the moment you need to be spending for it. Because if you keep postponing that and you try to create a different scenario, you're stirring your own pot.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if that moment you're feeling like you can't really help, then don't feel bad about not helping and don't feel bad about helping yourself. Just be in that present with yourself and take care of yourself in that way that you need it right now. And then you can go out,
For sure. You know, what struck me as you were speaking was that the thing the now moment requires, or in order to get to it, is almost a judgment free mind. You
Hmm.
don't want to label anything because labeling it is taking you out of the present moment. You want to witness it, experience it for what it is, and enjoy it in its
Yeah.
solitude. But once you try to slap a label on it, that diminishes what you're experiencing and takes you out of the present moment and takes you back
Hmm.
into the mind where you're thinking more than you're experiencing.
Yeah. Like, um, today I had noticed that a friend had picked up a bad habit because of stress. And I had told my significant other, even though I had recently told them prior that it's our business, so I'm going to keep it our business. And I thought back and I thought, golly, you just told her hours ago that your business is going to be your business and not go anywhere. And now here I am, and I done told someone, why did I do that? Worried about what that might have caused. Are they going to find out that I talked to somebody and then get upset at me? Are they not going to trust me with things anymore because of that? But then I had to stop and think, well, what if that moment was supposed to be shared because it was going to lead to somebody else coming into their life as well that was also going to pull them out of that, you
Yep.
know?
Exactly. You can't know what the moment's supposed to be for. There was
Right.
this one story that somebody shared with me that I'll try to paraphrase, but it was basically like a wise old farmer had something happen to him. His horse died, and everybody's like, "Oh, woe be the fortune that befell you. Everything's going bad. How are you going to farm now that your horse died?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll see whether it's good or bad fortune." And like later on, something else happened that someone said was good fortune. And he's like, "No, just wait and see." And the story kept going where the details kept adding on, and it would flip back and forth between seeming like good fortune and bad fortune. But really, the lesson of the story was it's never good or bad because you don't know what it's supposed to lead to. So
Yeah.
your judgment on the moment is a lack of understanding of what's really happening. So, like, don't think just because something seems bad that all things are bad. It could be setting you up to go two steps forward than in the next moment. You've just got to be there and be your best self and greet the moments as they come.
Yeah, when it comes to making choices and when it comes to deciding what to do, what not to do, or what to say or what not to say, I try to use my intuition to the best of my ability to know whether or not it's right or wrong. If I start feeling hesitant and drawn back at saying something, no matter what I try to tell myself, I'm like, okay, maybe that wasn't meant to be. So even though like I have it in my head, I'm just gonna leave it alone and let it be what it is right now. Let it turn into whatever it's gonna turn into, and it's fine. You know?
Yes, I do, because that's what we're doing in this moment right now with you and I. We're
Yeah.
listening to our intuition. And I can tell you, sometimes you're speaking, and I have a thought that goes in my head, and I'm like, "Ooh, that'll be good to add on to hers." And like, but then the
Oh,
present moment continues, and that spot doesn't come in. So I think, okay, that was just my thought for myself,
yeah.
and stay in the present moment and keep engaged
Yeah.
to see where it leads you. And
Yeah.
it's fun to flow in the now moment because this moment right now has everything you need in it, whether
Hmm.
you realize it or not. You are in it, so you're alive. That's
Yeah.
the essence of what we all need. Anything above that is just blessings and icing on the cake.
Well, when you try to plan out those kind of thoughts, because I kind of end up having the same process too. I'll be listening and I'll be like, ooh, oh yeah, that is a good idea. Ooh, that would really add on to it. But like when you try to plan how a conversation is going to go or how an evening is going to go, you can pretty much bet that it's not going to go how you're planning it.
Oh
It's
my goodness, yes.
and if you set up those expectations thinking about the future, how you want it to end up in the future, and it doesn't end up that way, you're going to be disappointed, you know?
Expectations lead to disappointment. That is very true.
Yeah. And so by if you can change that into living for the now and recognizing that these moments are going to morph and change, then there is no disappointment to be had.
No, exactly. That's where we talked about, you like to live in the now moment by appreciating what it is. And
Hmm.
that's the gift of it,
Yeah.
appreciating what it is instead of focusing on what it isn't.
Right.
And it's a choice that can be made. Now, I will say that I learned from my doctor that we have hard wiring in our brain, like our
Oh.
electrical impulses run along pathways and they run
Really?
the same pathways. So to me, that means like your thoughts, they are hardwired to run a certain direction.
Wow.
So, so it's kinda, if you're thinking negative all the time, literally your brain is hardwired to think negative.
Oh
So
my
you've got to
goodness.
rewire your brain to start to think differently and
Yeah.
train new thought wirings in your
Oh
head.
my
And
goodness.
so it's when I tell somebody the choice to be positive is a constant choice, I really mean it because
Hmm.
your habit is to think against that positive acceptance and love. And so when you rewire your brain, you've got to make that constant choice to not think like the pattern is and do something
Yes.
different, which that can be challenging.
Yeah, your brain might be thinking one thing, but you know better than to give in to considering that it's strictly that. You know better the constant struggle. Like with the whole anxiety thing, of course it doesn't go away completely. Of course it's going to come back pretty relatively often, just in smaller amounts.
Hmm.
And it's to allow yourself to constantly question that, and I mean, it is going to happen, but choosing in that moment to just let go of that question and just move on with what else is happening, that becomes it's a very, very learned, it's a very difficultly learned skill.
Oh, for sure. I went to anger management class, and that was one that helped me learn to live more in the present moment because
Oh.
it was helpful because one of the first things they taught us, it was called emotional flooding. Basically, when you're floating along through your time and something triggers you and you either get upset, sad, angry, whatever, a wall of emotions comes over you and floods your brain, which basically separates you from rational thinking in the moment. So if you're in a triggered state of being, you're not thinking like yourself for at least 15 to 20 minutes from the state of being triggered. So that like drilled into my mind. Well, if I can't be counted on for 15 to 20 minutes, that means I shouldn't be making any choices
Oh goodness.
impulsively until I'm back in a rational state of mind. So that kind of led me to believe more it's not about reacting in the now moment, it's about witnessing it. So you can have a clear head to move forward and make a decision more rationally going forward. So live in the now moment, be there, present, and engaged.
Yeah.
But if it's overwhelming you, no, you don't have to react to that now moment right now. You can wait, and your best self may very well be somebody that waits until you calm down to move forward.
Right. Okay. And it's so funny. I was actually going to ask you how you had personally learned.
We were on the same wavelength.
As always.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, I so was going to ask you. I was going to be like, so Alma, how did you learn how to do that?
Yep. Well, and it was practicing in anger management. It was, because anger management was a group therapy session. So it was being surrounded by strangers that I didn't really know, but coming with all my problems and needing to talk about them in a real way. So
Yeah.
I was experiencing emotional flooding with anxiety, just being in the group therapy, but then needing to be able to act normal or act like myself, not normal, but just be me. And so it gave me that hands on practice of waiting to act until I felt more like myself. And it actually, as I went through the group therapy, the anxiety became less
Yeah.
because what a lot of the fear and doubt was a lack of acceptance for myself. I didn't trust myself to be what the moment needed. So I would practice or I would think about conversations in my head. I would plan out what happened, what I would do if certain things happened. I was very neurotic with how I was trying to plan for a future I couldn't be sure of. But that's
Mm,
when those anger management classes brought me to the center moment, which was being here and now and engaged and,
yeah.
witnessing it for what it was, not what I needed it to be.
So would you say then basically that your experience of learning to live in the now instead of worrying about past or future also taught you a greater self-awareness?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, in we call it fluidly living in the now moment because the now is constantly shaping. So I
Yeah.
lost my train of thought. Oh,
Oh, it's
that's okay.
it's okay. I kind of figured that it had changed the perspective. It when you are able to learn how to live in that present moment, it does change a lot of perspective because like I've had a manager that I did not like dealing with, because the way that they responded, the way that they communicated, and the way that they felt as they communicated, it really launched my anxiety, and I didn't want to face them with questions, and I didn't want because I didn't want to hear it. Like I kept thinking about, okay, ooh, should I ask a question? Ooh, let me think about how to answer so that way I get the best possible answer, or I get the best mood. Let me wait until I see them in a happier state of mind before I ask them, when really and truly I really needed to go and ask them.
Yep, you were in your head rather than engaging
Yeah.
and mhm.
Yeah, it stirred a lot of fear to be thinking about the possibilities rather than, okay, well, this is what I need to do right now, so let me do it. I was
Mhm.
thinking about the possible results of what it could be, the possible responses that I could get, trying to plan for the best one, you
Yep,
know?
I've been there. I planning for what you can't know is gonna happen, and it's
Right.
it's just it's so stressful because no matter how much thought you put into it, you're never gonna know what's going to happen until it happens. So that's where coming to the present moment is where everything's happening. If
Mhm.
you're if you're lost in thoughts about what could be or what isn't, you might be missing that now moment that is what you need it to be. And
Right.
so it it's very helpful to again engage with that present moment and just be center with it
Right.
and flow as the changes come.
Right, like water, like a river. You're floating with the river.
Yes, with the current of life. Yes.
Right.
There was this story that I someone shared with me of like people clinging on in the current of life. They're holding on to rocks, thinking that it's going to save them. And then finally, one person is like, I'm just going to let go. I'm going to let go because I can't hold on any longer. And all the other people clinging to their rocks are like, you're going to be drowned. You're going to be lost. You're,
Oh my
you're never going to make it. But what happened was the raging current took this person and carried them. And sure, they got battered with the rocks and battered with the branches that are in the water and tossed around. But soon they came to a patch of calmer water, and there were other people that saw this person come from the current of life, and they thought he was the savior because he had appeared out of nowhere. And he was like, no, I'm just flowing with the current of life. Let it flow and keep going. And so he brought the message that flowing with the current of life is the right way to do it, because he didn't lose his life in the process. In fact, he gained a different life.
Yeah, that's true. And for anyone watching, listening, and just really trying to ponder this, it is a very challenging concept to really grasp onto because, and like you said, we're hardwired. Habits, they take a lot of practice to change. They take a lot of experience to change. So even if you feel like you're suffering in that fear for the future or the worry about the past, I mean, that's totally natural. Um, I certainly don't expect anyone to be able to just let go immediately tomorrow as soon as they listen to this. You
Right.
know, um, changing that hardwire, changing that path that our thoughts take, it takes a very repetitive process to achieve. And maybe right now it doesn't make sense, and the one that you're traveling now makes more sense to you, but that's because that's what you're used to, you know?
Very much so. That
Yeah.
is. It's it's and it might even be hard to make sense of right now because you're so used to thinking the way you are.
Mhm.
So it comes in stages. The first step is love and acceptance. If you can't love and accept yourself, you're going to struggle to let go of the past that hurt you and not worry about the future and all the ways it could hurt you. And so loving and healing is the first step to coming into the now moment. So if we're talking and this just seems like a far-fetched idea, focus in on inward and look inward and see what love and healing you need to do, because the sooner you can come to that love and healing, the sooner you can get out of the fear and doubt that keep you out of the present moment.
Right. If you can learn to go ahead and establish that love for yourself, you can start to learn how to establish the love for the moment.
Mhm.
It has to start with you, you know?
It's Yep, it starts within. I agree
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. So it's totally understandable. Like if you get off this video and you're like, wow, that totally makes sense. I'm going to practice it. And then you go into work the next day and you just utterly bomb. You just totally fail at it and you become a fearful, anxious mess. I mean, don't let that step let you down because this is a very exercised concept. But I
Very sure.
promise you, once you reach that, once you actually take all those steps and you manage to heal yourself and reach that, it makes so much stuff so much more peaceful. you know?
Oh, for sure. This living in the now moment is almost like getting a surfboard to coast on. The waves of life are still going to roll on through, ups and downs, back and forth, all arounds. You're going to go through it. But if you're living in the now moment, it's like you're coasting through it because you've learned how to be comfortable with yourself to exist as you need to. So you're no longer getting tossed around by the current. You're just gliding along, surfing, hanging 10.
yeah. So absolutely. I hope you guys were able to take something from this to be able to really gain some insight from the two of us who have lived that route and gone through that journey and learned that and being able to really take it in for yourself in order to learn that piece for yourself because I promise you through all that hardship of trying to understand this, you will in the end find yourself at comfortable peace with yourself and everything that happens.
I agree. Absolutely.
You will find it. I promise you, the light is at the end of the tunnel. You just have to keep trying because if you don't try, you can't rewire that habit.
Right, right. So just keep going at it. If you mess up, don't worry about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Learn from that mistake and move on forward. And just keep flowing with it. And in time, it won't feel so hard. It'll be something that you've learned how to do. The beginning is always rocky, getting a new habit
Yeah.
started.
Oh,
But
yeah.
once you build that habit, it's not difficult anymore. It becomes the norm, the new norm that you get to live.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I thank you so much for joining us and getting a little bit of glimpse in this. I know this was a very deep topic to dive into, especially for those who haven't even experienced even a hint of this. Um, but you will get there, and I hope that you're able to find inspiration and you will find your own journey towards nice, peaceful living in this moment state of mind. So,
Yes, I we hope that you find your way to it. And when you do, if you do, share it with us or share where you are if you aren't there. Leave a
absolutely.
comment and let us know how you're doing in your journey.
Yes, we love hearing from you and we love responding to you.
Yes, we do.
So, until next time, you guys have a lovely day and remember, live in the moment.
Live in the moment. Yes,
Live
have
in
a
the
good one.
moment. All right. Have a good one.
Bye.